Welcome to Preparing for the Interview by the Career Services and Advising Center. We'll be talking about what to do in order to get ready for interviews, as well as what to do the day of and how to follow up after an interview. So we're going to start off by talking about different types of interviews. There are phone and video interviews. Those video interviews sometimes use Skype or Zoom or Google Meeting. You may find that you are doing more of these now than in the past. Sometimes this is a first round screening. Sometimes you'll do multiple video interviews depending on the company. These should usually last between 20 and 40 minutes. There are also some companies that do pre-recorded video interviews. What will happen is you will be given a prompt, a question, and you get the opportunity to record yourself answering that. Usually it gives you more than one opportunity to answer the question. Sometimes it doesn't, but these are where you're doing a video interview, but not with an actual person. And then you have in-person interviews. Usually these are more in the second round after you've done a phone or video interview, and they can range from about an hour to 2 hours, depending on how many people they plan to have you meet with. All right, so before you go on an interview, you want to do your research. Research the company, read the job description thoroughly, look at similar positions. You can use things like glassdoor.com or onet to look at similar positions. Looking at the company's website or social media page, what do they do? What's their mission? Have they been in the news lately? You can look up reviews for companies as well as typical salary information on glassdoor.com. Now keep in mind that this is a peer-reviewed, so it's people self-reporting this information. So it's a good place to find information on larger companies. Sometimes smaller startups aren't going to be on there. Review your resume, take a look at some of the key things that you want to highlight, write down some skills that you definitely want to bring up or experiences that you want to highlight when you go into your interview. Make sure you write down the time, location, and who you're meeting with, and bring it with you. So that way, if you have to check in at the front desk, you know who to ask for. Map out your drive and travel time. Include some buffer time for traffic, for unforeseen circumstances, and make sure are you taking public transportation? Are you going to have to walk from a parking lot? Kind of keep all of that in mind. Pick out what you'll wear and do that while keeping in mind how you're getting there. So if you are planning to take public transportation and then walk 3 blocks, probably not a great idea to wear heels. Is it raining? Do you need to walk across a large parking lot in the rain? Bring an umbrella. Just a few things to keep in mind. What to wear to an interview. You definitely want to go professional, business. That means suit or at least a button-up shirt and slacks, a tie. You want to look neat and well-groomed. Avoid using, cologne or perfume. Some people have sensitivity to smell. You don't want to stand out too much, but you can also show a little bit of your personality. And keep your audience in mind here as well. Think about what is typical for the industry you're going into, and kind of know your audience. The day of your interview, you want to bring copies of your resume with you. Bring enough copies for every person that you'll be interviewing with. Bring your references on a separate sheet of paper. You should have at least 3 people that have agreed to be a reference for you. Make sure you have talked to these references before you give out their information. You want to bring with you a notepad and pen and either a folder or portfolio to keep all your documents together and neat. Bring an ID with you in case there's security in the building. And then bring a list of questions that you have already thought up for your interviewer. The day of, arrive at least 10-15 minutes early so that you can find the office and get settled and feel comfortable before your interview. Turn off your phone or put it in airplane mode. Don't just put it on vibrate. You can definitely still hear that in an interview. You don't want any distractions. Practice your handshake. You want it to be a firm handshake and make good eye contact. And be aware of your body language. Try to be relaxed. If you're someone who talks with your hands, that's okay. But definitely try to be conservative and keep your hands down. And think about how your body is positioned in the interview. Okay, so some common interview questions. Here are just a few. I've included a link in the description of this video to our resource guide on interviews where there are some more questions. But generally, you're going to get questions in a couple different categories. You're going to get questions about yourself and your qualifications, your history. You'll get questions about your experience, asking about particular things that you have done in the past, how it relates to this position. And then you will get questions about the job. Why are you interested in the company? What 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 do you think are the reasons we should hire you? What do you know about the job already? You may also get situational questions where they will either ask you about an example of a time that you did something, and this is where we want to talk about the STAR technique. So you may get questions like, tell me about a time that you had to use teamwork. Tell me about a time that you experienced failure. Tell me about a time that you solved a problem um, creatively. So when you are given these types of questions, you want to talk about the situation, so a little bit of background about what was going on, the task, what you actually did, um, the action, so what did you do, and what were the steps that you took to accomplish this? And then the result. And I think of the result as the moral of the story, right? What did you learn from that? What happened? What were the results? And here's an example here that you can read through. A few pointers about answering questions. A lot of times when people go on interviews, they get very, very nervous. They talk very quickly. Try to take a deep breath, speak calmly and slowly. Sometimes it feels as though you're speaking very, very slowly, but usually we're talking much faster than we anticipate. Be aware of your body language, keeping your hands calm and your shoulders down. Keep your answers positive. Try not to criticize past employers or managers. That reflects poorly on you. Make sure to be honest about your accomplishments. Don't over exaggerate. Answer the question that you're asked. And if you feel like you are answering a question and you're not sure if it's really what they're getting at, you can ask questions back. So you can say things like, does that answer your question? Would you like me to expand more upon that? Or even if you're asked a question that you don't understand, you can ask them to rephrase it. If you're asked a tricky or complex question, it's okay to say, um, let me think for a minute. That's a hard one. It's okay to take a minute, collect your thoughts, instead of just rambling and hoping what you're saying is answering the question. Um, you want to be confident without being arrogant. This is not a time to downplay your accomplishments, and this can be a really unnatural way of speaking. Often we're not used to talking about ourselves in this way. But this is your time to shine and to really talk about your accomplishments and what you are good at. As you are thinking about questions to ask the employer at the end of almost every interview, they will ask, and what questions do you have for us? Don't ask questions that can easily be found by a Google search or on the company's website. Questions like, so what do you do here? Not an appropriate question to ask. Um, Also, don't ask questions about salary or benefits until you are actually accepted into, or you're in the final interview phase. Um, Things that you can ask about include the training process, the goals of the department, career paths, time frame, next steps. Um, try to think about, interviews are not just about them interviewing you. This is also your opportunity to figure out if this is actually a good fit for you. I know sometimes, we just want to get the job, but asking questions about company culture, and why your interviewers like working there. This is your opportunity to kind of get a feel for the company as well, and make sure it's a place that you would be happy at. After your interview is complete, make sure you send a thank you note within 24 hours. 48 is okay, but really, as soon as you get home, either email or handwrite a thank you note for each of the people you interviewed with. Um, you can follow up with a phone call or email um, once the time frame that they said that they would get back to you has passed. Try to just follow up once unless they tell you to do so again. If you have an interview coming up, you can definitely reach out to our office and book a one-on-one appointment to either talk about preparing for the interview or to do a mock interview. If you do want to do a mock interview, we would do it um, by Google Hangouts. We could also do a phone interview if needed. But let us know when your interview is, and send us along the job description, and we can set up a time to meet so you can practice. We do have virtual walk-in hours that are in Google Hangouts that you can drop into. I will put the link in the description of this video, so feel free to stop in, ask questions, and we hope to hear from you soon. Good luck.